Tell me about like when you're like gonna go full on for graffiti. Like how old are you?
So up until I was skating pretty heavily, maybe like 94, 95. Then like I started in San Francisco.
But can you give us like a snapshot of what Pill Hill is like, what downtown San Francisco is like? What's it look like?
So Pill Hill is it's the Tenderloin. It's at the time there was one block that was like crack, which is TNT, Turk and Taylor.
When do you wind up homeless in Kensington?
Oh gosh, I was homeless in Center City, and I would do all my sales.
What were the crazy ways that you steal?
Like I was really into like going behind counters, like not break. I wasn't jumping counters, but sneaking, opening like locked cases.
How would you do it? What hits you first as a skate punk graffiti kid? All right, so we're at my dad's house. We have not yet built the Dopey studio. So this is my bedroom when I was a kid.
Oh yeah.
This is the room I grew up in. This is it. And
Did you read all those books?
Yeah, I'm really smart. I read all those books.
Okay.
No, they turned it into some kind of office. I'm with Jonas Gray, aka PVC Gray.
Yep.
You're celebrating a year in 2 weeks.
Yes, I am.
How are you? Welcome to the show.
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here. Yeah.
And Jonas is a hardcore graffiti artist. And you would say you're not a hardcore graffiti artist?
I'll take that.
What, is more of a softcore graffiti artist?
Nah.
You're a hardcore graffiti artist. You fucking painted the whole world.
Yeah, straight up. I did. I'm not done, but yeah, I have a little bit of graffiti underneath my belt for sure.
Do you not like the words hardcore? Was that what you took umbrage with?
No. I just I like to be humble, but it's okay to hear. But you know, if I refer to myself as that, I think maybe I would be a little bit it could hit wrong. But
I hear you.
But I feel I don't mind. Yeah, I mean, I'll fuck with that.
He makes beautiful art. You make beautiful. I just started looking at some of it. It's beautiful. There's beautiful lettering, beautiful colors. Travel the world.
Thank you.
And last time you got high was December 31st, 2023.
Yes, that's true. New Year's Eve.
Tell us everything.
Okay, so do you want me to start with that point? Or
I want to hear that. Let's start there and work backwards.
So, okay. Last time I used, it was New Year's, and it was like a lot going on in the street, and I didn't like plan my night very good. And I was kind of like low on stock with stuff. Stores were closed. And I remember walking around being like, man, there's so much around here. Like maybe I should ask someone for money. And I knew something was wrong because I'm like, the last thing I would ever consider doing would be panhandling. Like I would go break a window of a retail store or do what I had to do before I would ever run around begging. So I knew something wasn't right. And I managed to go like find a place that was open and make a couple bucks. I went down to the hood to Kensington and got.
Wait, how did you make a couple bucks though?
I found one store that was open, which was like Wawa, like in Philly, and that's like your like late night like emergency run for making a couple bucks. You can go get like I mean, embarrassingly, it's like if you're really hard up, you can get like a case of Red Bull and go sell it down in the hood for $1 a can. So that's $25. So I went and got one of those.
How'd you get the case though?
There's like, you could open the freezer and like you could reach, there was a way to grab the stock that's for the store that's not on the shelf, because those are cleared out. These fiends are like grabbing singles. A lot of them, they'll get like 5 and go, because items in Kensington are $5 for a bag of fentanyl. Or whatever drug of choice, everything's 5. So like, but I could reach to the top. I'm tall, and pull the whole case down, and it's sealed. It's like about the size of a box of shoes, like a shoe box, because they're small cans.
The little like skinny ones.
Yeah, little 8 ounce. And then you go to the hood and sell them at like one of the poppy stores, a bodega, $1. That's $25. So I went and did that, and then I remember I could feel something wasn't right. I did the shot, and it wasn't really, I did the shot into my neck, which was new for me, but I was just like, something felt weird. Like I could tell that something was off. And the fact that I was like didn't have my money planned out and stuff. I guess, I don't know. I was at maybe the end of my rope.
You were in the street at that point.
Yeah, I had been in the street for.
Maybe we shouldn't work backwards. Maybe we should work forwards.
Okay, yeah, I guess however it works, we can. But so the last time I used, so yeah, you want to?
I want to know. Tell me.
Okay.
Tell us the story, and then we'll get back to your...
I ended up waking up, went to sleep dissatisfied, didn't enjoy the shot. It just kind of was like, I just felt something was off. I was, operating differently. Considering going and like asking people for money was so crazy to me. I ended up waking up just so super sick, and I looked down like by underneath me, and there was blood. I'm not gonna say, there was blood coming out of my body, down the lower part, and I couldn't really even get up. I had one bag of dope, but I didn't have, which is fentanyl. I didn't have powder to put in it, and that was my thing. And I just knew I was sick. I knew it wasn't.
Meaning you usually put coke in.
Yeah, I mix it, but it wasn't like, to me, like, I knew I wasn't just dope sick. I never woke up sick like dope sick. Like I had enough of, that wasn't a thing for me, and I couldn't get up. And someone, I don't remember how the police arrived, but they gave me the option of going to jail or going in the ambulance. And they didn't know my name. They swore they had just seen me the day before at some station I had never been at. I don't know if they mistook me for someone else, if they think we all look alike. I don't know. But I just know that I did have a warrant. I didn't want to go to jail, and I needed the hospital. So I went, and I stayed in there for 2 weeks. I had E. coli in my stomach.
Is that where the blood came out of?
It came out of...
No, because of the E. coli?
Oh, yeah, that's why. Yeah. It gave me like some super bad gastrointestinal infection.
Did it come out of your butt or the front?
The butt.
Okay. There's nothing to be ashamed of. You survived.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is, but imagine it was humiliating to have these cops see me covered in blood and possibly like fecal matter, making fun of me, saying like, I can't believe we're wasting our tax dollars because you're... because you're shitting yourself, and just making me feel like, I mean, whatever. I don't blame him, I guess. Like,
you had a fucking proper bottom. This is the kind of bottom that really can make you change.
Yeah. And I mean, the shit I had already accepted for myself was there's levels to this shit, like that was just when I couldn't get off the ground to go steal and to continue my usage. I had one bag of dope. I gave it in the hospital. I surrendered it because I knew that whatever the fuck was going on with me, this was my ticket out of this shit. Because I was so sick that I was like, you know what? Like, when I got into the hospital, they're like, yeah, like, we're going to give you methadone. Because they figured once I subsided with the infection, I'd probably, just AMA and go use, which is what I would have done normally. And I had done in the past. Never was sick to that degree, debilitatedly sick. But this time I knew without any doubt in my mind at all, this was my ticket to sobriety that I had been plotting on, fantasizing about, and daydreaming about for the last maybe at least year and a half.
And you traded them the last bag. You were like, this is my trade.
I'm like, you know what? I surrendered the bag to a cop. I mean, he was a hospital, but he was an authority. He could have arrested me, which I didn't. That didn't enter my mind. It was more like, this stuff right here doesn't work for me anymore. Take it, and that was, I don't know, maybe that was my spiritual awakening.
It was the beginning of it for sure.
Yeah.
And I never work backwards, but since we're coming up on a year this month, I wanted to hear what the end was. And where did you grow up?
I grew up in, that's a complicated story. I would say San Francisco is my early childhood beginnings.
Right. Were you into painting and art or first?
Definitely graffiti and skateboarding and punk rock music. 100%. I didn't get strung out till I was 27.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what hit you first as a skate punk graffiti kid?
As far as like
The culture. No, just in the culture.
I mean, the first time I ever saw graffiti, I was like maybe like 9 or 10 on like, I think it was Beat Street, the breakdance movie came out. And I saw the graffiti and I was like, I just knew that I wanted to do that. You know, I wasn't interested in like some of the other elements of it, but graffiti to me, like just seeing it, it was just something that had an aesthetic that I was attracted to. And I just wanted to do it, but it wouldn't be till years later I would get like the Subway art book. That was when I was 16. So like from 9, 10 years old to like give it like till 16, I kind of like was just interested in skateboarding and punk rock music, and then maybe a little bit of comic books or something. But then graffiti came, and that was just like, I was still a skater. I never knew that there was like a writer. I never knew of a graph writer as a personality. I was a skater, and on weekends, maybe on Sunday, I would try my hand at graffiti in the ditch and stuff. And but
were you better at graffiti or skating?
At that time, I was way better at skating. I was good at skating for.
You have a little Andy Roy style tonality to your talking.
Okay, Andy Roy, yeah. Shout out Andy Roy.
No, we love Andy.
Yeah. San Francisco, that's a good segue to that.
Yeah.
That's same neighborhood, Tenderloin. That's where I started. Well, that's not where I started, but that's where
what's the first you ever did?
So when I was like 20, I took LSD.
How did you not do anything until you were 20? Was it like straight edge business?
Kinda. My friends smoked weed, and I remember wanting to just go skate and paint or whatever, and you'd be like, "Oh, I just got to pick up some weed at whoever's house, some older weird guy that we were gonna go get weed from, whatever." And we'd be there for like hours, and I'm just sitting there. They're just taking bong rips, and I'm just sitting there wondering, like, no one's really talking, and I'm just like, what are we doing? And so I was just like, dude, like, no one could describe to me how weed like necessarily felt, or like, I don't know. To me, like, that was just not something I was interested in. But then like, so yeah, and then at like 21, and I had drank maybe like a few times. Like, you know what I mean? I never even like drinking even was like a little bit rare for me.
No, I didn't. I barely did anything. I started smoking weed around, I mean, every day. I think I started smoking weed when I was 17, but then when I really started smoking weed, I was probably 19 or 20. So I didn't drink at all. I drank like a handful of times before that. Well, so I can relate.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it. Like I don't have this same path as a lot of people, but with me, like I took LSD and mushrooms.
First was LSD?
Yeah, it might have been mushrooms. Actually, it was mushrooms first, but you know what? The first 5 minutes of it like taking effect, I was like, I knew I was like, this shit's for me. Like this, like that experience was like, cause you know, people have been like, oh yeah, it's like you're in like, you know, you get these vivid visuals and stuff looks kind of like cartoony or something. And I was like, that sounds fucking cool to me. Like you hallucinate, like, fuck yeah, like I want to try that. It's
like your imagination becomes alive kind of
thing. And like it worked very good.
And you're skating and you're doing graffiti. Would you trip out and do graffiti?
I would take it and like I was very cautious with it. Like I started taking acid, but I would only do it when I was in a safe environment, and it was maybe every 6 months. At the height of my LSD use, it was like I went to Europe in '98 for graffiti, and towards the end of it, like sober the whole time, not sober, but like I just wasn't consuming, wasn't drinking, going to like different countries, staying in youth hostels and not knowing anyone. They're all like pub hopping, and I'm just like, dude, I like trying to make friends with like other travelers, but they just wanted to drink or whatever, and I just wasn't my thing. But when I came back, this experience of going to Europe for the first time was so cool. Skating, doing graffiti, like on my own, backpacking around, touring with like little punk bands and stuff would give me a ride from city to city and stuff. It was super awesome. Then I come back and I'm kind of like, damn, this is like, I'm in the like post-holiday depression type thing. Not even depression, but just the like, it's such an exciting time. So I think I did acid maybe like 3 weekends in a row. And by the third one, I was like, okay, that doesn't work. It just became bland.
Tell me about like when you're like gonna go full on for graffiti. Like, how old are you?
So up until I was skating pretty heavily, maybe like 94, 95. Then like I started in San Francisco, but 98, like really like that was my trip to Europe. I wasn't known in those countries I was going.
But before you went, were you like, I want to be a fucking graffiti artist?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. By the time I went to Europe, I felt like that was sort of me. That was like the next stage of like, but before that, I would say I locked it down and started being like pretty committed to this shit, like to graph in probably like 95. Like, yeah, like maybe a few years. I started in 90. So 95 was like, that was the year.
Who were your heroes?
Oh gosh. There's a lot. I mean, old Subway guys like Peanut was like an old one. He had a good ass piece on the Welcome Back Kotter TV show as it came on the intro. Then like the Subway art like Scheme and Dez and Scene, Dondi. I mean, the really good like panel painters like of that time, like doing like nice good pieces on the subway train. There's nothing to this day. There's nothing better than that.
Right.
Not at all. And then the first streets, like California stuff, like there was like in LA, there was like, I would say this dude Euler was really good. He like did a lot of bombing. There was like, I went to LA to visit as a total toy. I was just a brand new writer, still more of a skater, but I went to visit my aunt.
As a total toy. I like that.
Toy, yeah. Yes. They call him Toy, yeah. She, we just drove around. I took photos off the freeway a lot, just of graffiti. The freeways were still hit. And I would see like AWR crew a lot, like, looking back at those photos later, I'm like, I knew who they were, but that was my first exposure to that. LOD from LA, and then San Francisco was like Twist and KR and maybe like Reminisce, which was a girl that did these horses, like kind of like black and white. Like I was actually at Embarcadero Plaza skating, sleeping, way pre-addiction. I was already going to San Francisco, and a lot of skaters would sleep outside at Embarcadero Plaza because this was a place to go prove yourself as a skater. And like a lot of people were not so much about like, it wasn't even as much about like not having a house or an apartment, but it was like you didn't want to go get a job or get an apartment because you didn't want to leave the plaza because you didn't know who was going to be there. Like all good pros traveling would go there, and you didn't want to like not be there when something popped off. So
who would you see there?
Oh my God. Like Jamie Thomas was around. He's not even a local, but he's like one of the more substantial pros that ended up really big. But he was sleeping there too. Every morning he would do this big ollie, the Gons Gap. Mark Gonzalez like pioneered this gap, and he would do it barefooted, Jamie Thomas. But there was Mike York, Carl Watson.
How good a skater were you?
Not good enough to contend in that realm.
Right.
I might have been all right, like where I was from, but like going there and being like, I want to go like try to be this dude in skating. That's when I realized like 93 was when I realized like they accepted me because I wrote, but as a skater, I wasn't a contender at all. And I was even intimidated. I didn't even want to like flex what I had there because these people were just not only good, but super cool and acclimated with like San Francisco. And I'm a newcomer, what they call a T-dog. If you're not like, it's a town dogger. Like if you're not from our Embarcadero Plaza and SF, like you would be a T-dog, but I kind of got a pass because I wrote graph because a lot of the better skaters wrote. So like I didn't get T-dogged like in Embarcadero, but I definitely wasn't like crew, but because this was a time where street crew type shit like was popping. Like the movie Kids came out and a lot of people from EMB were in the movie. Right. Like shout out to Level and like Nick Lockman and them, like then that was the height of like that hype, you know, and luckily I like wrote and stuff. So like I was accepted.
And your writing they were like, oh shit, this kid can write.
Yeah. They're like, yeah. And we would maybe go tagging a little bit around downtown San Francisco.
So what you lacked in skating skill, you make for and writing skills.
Yes, and so I had social acceptance in a scene of people that I idolized. Let's face it, regardless of how my skating might have been or not been, like, these were still my peers that I looked up to greatly, and to have acceptance within that community was super important to me. And it was crazy because now I look back on it, like going to a city and being homeless, completely drug naive, could never done or anything. Because this is going back to when I'm like 19, 18, 17. I'm sleeping on the street because I don't want to miss nothing
It's like homeless training.
Yeah, that's exactly what I realize now that it was like, and it wasn't the same because like my clarity was different, but my love for like just commitment to like
the lifestyle.
Yeah, it was great. It was normal to me.
So you're young. We're not going to designate a specific age, and you're like, I'm going to go to Europe and see what I can see and get up.
Yeah, and like I was seeing a lot of subway graffiti because since that was what started me out.
It's funny because I grew up here, right? And you know who's Sane and Smith?
Yes, so I met Smith when I was really young as well.
They would get up in our courtyard at high school. Like they put up this crazy piece of this dragon, and it said Sane Smith. And like, so me and my friends were not good skateboarders nor graffiti artists, but we would pretend to be a graffiti writing crew, and we called our crew 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 because it was stupid. You know, we were just trying to make, and we all were horrible at writing graffiti. And my tag was S. Just one letter, S. And it was not good. Wow. But like we love. I mean, like growing up in New York,
one of the most famous graffitis is just that S, that weird shape.
That's why I chose S. But so like I love hearing about this shit because I was into it, and I've always been in. Actually, when I lived in LA and I was totally strung out on heroin, somehow I got a job teaching kids about graffiti. I don't know how.
Because you were from New York, right?
Yeah, I was from New York, and I was so high, and I don't know what I taught them. I handed out like books, graffiti books, like black books, and like little highlight markers. And
where do I sign up for that shit? I want to go. I want to take that class or teach it. One or the other.
You definitely didn't want to take my class. It was horrible. I was all benzoed out. All the memories are gone. Oh yeah. I even had a seizure at that job. They had to fucking ambulance. Out of that school.
Yeah, memory erasers. Yes. Benzos are.
So what did you want to accomplish in Europe?
I wanted to get on those passenger trains that were getting painted before it got eradicated like New York did. Because, you know, I came to New York, the trains were done.
Yeah, because they put up those...
they just erased it. They started... I don't know, people... I think... I wasn't there, but I know that it was just a thing of the past. Like
those trains were the coolest things in the world.
Yeah. For me, I mean, it would give my life trajectory a purpose, and is for better, for worse, or whatever. If people think that's crazy or sad or whatever, I fuck with it. Like, you know what? Like graffiti, it's given me a community like worldwide of support, and like, so like, yeah, I don't regret that shit. Like I love New York subway graffiti, and you know.
What about it? Like, what about graffiti in general makes you this committed?
You know what? I don't know exactly. Because like I said, the first time I saw it, I just was like, I'm going to do that thing. Like whatever that is, I want to do it. Maybe it was like edgy. I was a little kid and I was like, maybe it involved art and I liked art, but it was like, maybe it was rebellious. And you know, in movies in the 80s when I was a kid, anytime you'd see graffiti in a movie, it was like, it was to create a narrative of chaos, danger, like maybe, you know what I mean? So it was like some, you know, showing guys with like mohawks and like safety pins in their ear and graffiti everywhere to show that it was a bad area. So maybe there was some attraction to like the delinquent nature or the, you know what I mean?
And also the acclaim, getting fame, like when you get up and you get known for who you are.
Well, that came later because like, so like at the start, it was just me wanting to, I was just like, yeah, I want to do that. I want to be able to execute that thing. I don't care if it's in my room, my backyard, the ditch. I didn't even think about it being illegal or legal or like being like notorious. I just wanted to be able to make those pictures look, to do like a color graffiti thing. But then I went to San Francisco for skating and stuff, and I realized I started seeing taggers, a lot of tags and a lot of people up, and I realized this is a big city. This ditch stuff, this like backyard shit, this ain't cutting it. Like I need to, if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna participate in this shit. And like, so like that was then I thought I need to earn my name. Then it became this sort of hunger for notoriety. Then, so this is like stages. It turned into like, now all of a sudden I went to Europe. I went to some countries where no Americans had painted like their subway or that, you know, their trains. And I'm like thinking like, you know what, like now I'm being looked at. San Francisco became like a graph sort of spotlight city for the world. And I was like, okay, now it's my responsibility to make sure that this shit's done properly. I'm representing this thing that I love culture so much. I'm being looked at as like setting the blueprint for how this shit should be done correctly, style wise, maybe like strategy wise. And that was like such a beautiful thing to me, because like that, what more could you ask for as a writer than to be like sort of like a figurehead for like where this thing is going and what I owed to graffiti. You know what I mean?
Well, you took your place. You were like, I want to be this guy. And I get to do it, and I'm honored to do it and be part of the continuum of the art. And
the pride or the ego part kind of, it's there. It has to be with graffiti. Like no matter who you are, if you're super modest, like there has to be an element of like personal growth involved in it, because you're spray painting on stuff. Like you're spray painting your name. Like, so I'm not going to act like it's completely selfless, but like it is. It's
guerrilla art.
Yeah, it's yeah. And I remember that. So yeah, my purpose for doing graffiti changes throughout the course of my involvement with it. Probably every 4 years, probably.
And when do you stumble onto? Are you doing, when you go to Europe? Are you doing?
No.
So when does this happen? Because you become like a very prodigious junkie as you become a very prodigious graph artist.
Yeah. So what happened is like, I was in school, going to San Francisco Art Institute, and I was doing well. I started teaching. I taught like a summer class for kids that had graduated high school but were not in college, so it was like a bridge program. And I did that. And then
was it like my class, my graffiti class?
It was different than that, but the story goes the same towards the end. And then I got the job teaching in the actual college part. So 3 semesters I was teaching. Towards the end of the last one, I started like, I had been taking a little bit of recreational Vicodin, Percocet, and
Where
stuff.
did it come from though? Like in the first place? If
I
you're
found
like,
it.
You're in your like mid-20s
I found it in my dad's cabinet. He had like Tylox, it's OxyContin and Tylenol. It's an old one, 7.5 milligram. And I was like, I asked my friend, I was like, hey, that codeine stuff or whatever you're talking about, is this it? And he's like, yeah, that's the stuff. And I was like, yeah, I'll try. I was visiting my dad where he lived in a different state. I was on vacation. I was like, like this might sound fun. Like, let's try this. You know, I had never had a problem taking acid and mushrooms whenever every 6 months, whatever, maybe once a year, every 2 years. Good acid though, like strong trips, but like never even posed a problem. So I'm like, oh, I'm non-addictive. Like I figured I'm not an addictive personality type thing. So I'm like, oh, and I didn't even know that this was people talk about like drinking Robitussin and you get high. I thought, oh, this is like some weird quirk where you can take this aspirin type shit and you kind of get a buzz. I was like, I'll try it. And then after like the first day, then the second day, then this guy wants to do it again. Third day, and I'm like, holy shit, you want to do this again? I didn't realize he already had a full-blown habit.
And how did you feel about it the first time you took it?
I felt like it had a lot of the benefits of drinking, but without the mentally compromising part. Like, right. I could like be uninhibited and be just, it was like a slight mood lifter to me, made me a little more confident. Like I could go to a party and like just kind of not be sloppy, not be like blacky outy kind of like weird, but I could like go up and approach a conversation without having any hesitation at all. And I was like, wow, I'm like, this right here this is the ticket. This is the key.
It's solving problems.
Yeah. And I'm like, and it wasn't even a problem necessarily. It was just like, it was a beautiful time in my life. I was doing so well. I had achieved like a lot of my goals. I was like doing a design for like a clothing brand, teaching, doing graffiti, riding my bike around San Francisco with going to cool music events. I had like, looking back, I'm like, holy fuck, like I had everything I ever wanted. And my use started out of a celebratory gesture, not out of desperation. I wasn't like, oh, I'm in pain, I need a break. This was, hey, I finally like went against the current for a long time, and I'm in a place where I'm super satisfied. Let me
enjoy it.
And I have the responsible nature to partake in recreational substance use.
I had a similar thing. I was probably around the same age as you too. I was a horrible stoner though. That was the difference.
Okay.
I was like a fucking addicted stoner, but I had achieved like a little career. I had a nice place to live. I was exactly who I wanted to be. But then I didn't find Tylox. I just found heroin. And I was like, I really like how this makes me feel, you know? And I was like, it made me feel energized, confident. What it made me feel more than anything was it gave me, I always wanted to not give a fuck. And I always gave a fuck. And finally I sniffed a bag of dope and I didn't give a fuck.
That's what I was going to ask is, did you inject it? But I forgot East Coast dope.
It's powder.
It's powder.
Yeah.
So yeah. So yeah.
So you day 3 on Tylox, what's the experience?
Still just very kind of like whatever. And I was more shocked that this dude wanted to do it again. And he never really revealed that it was, I didn't know anything about it. There was no awareness.
Right,
there was no awareness about painkillers like Vicodin, Percocet. Like I hadn't even really heard those terms before.
It was pre fucking OxyContin, Big Pharma, all this shit.
So give it like maybe like a year. I would start hitting, I did it, left it alone. Maybe 3 months later, I was dating some girl that like, or maybe not dating, but hanging out with a girl that like had a bottle of Vicodin, and she's like, oh, I took one and threw up. I got in a car wreck. Like it was old. She gave it to me. Take those. And the chipping away like at a problem, at something I didn't even realize. Then another friend has it, and I'm like, oh, like, yeah, I'll take those, and then take those. Then start finding doctors that'll prescribe it through the guy that introduced me to it. He's
like, wait. So if I have a prescription, I just get to have my own. I don't need to find it.
Yeah. All of a sudden I have my whole own bottle of 120 of them. And then I'm like, still not even aware of like, I'm still thinking it's like,
whatever.
I'm cheating the system here. I'm not doing, but I get the benefits of it without actually participating in, but then I remember a day where I was like trying not to take it, even though I had it, but I was just like, oh, I'll skip a day. And then I realized like, you don't see how accentuated your experience is until it goes away. Like
Sure.
And each day I remember taking one extra one each day. So like one day 2, and then maybe 3 the next day, then 4. And that was like, it took me a while to clear a bottle. Like, but then I started hearing about OxyContin.
What about just the leap between you're getting it here, you're getting it there, and then you're like, wait, I can go to the doctor? Like, was that a major leap in your taking and your addictness?
It was, because to me, I thought like I discovered such a cool little like hustle. I'm like, oh, this is so cool. I can go pay $45. This guy writes me a script. And then now I have my own. It's always in my pocket. I feel it. I felt so like confident when I had that bottle in my pocket,
Yeah, I do.
And then I loved going to this doctor. I loved telling him where it hurt, saying my back hurts. And he's like, and he knew I was lying. I knew I was lying. And it felt good to walk out of there with my script.
Because you won that round.
I won that round. And also I'm like, wow, like this doesn't count. This still doesn't count. This is prescribed. you know, if someone sees me taking it, it doesn't matter. It's none of their business. I didn't even think of the possibility of this thing manifesting even into like the realm of like, to me, weed was way worse than what I was doing.
So there was no feeling of like addictness in this.
Not until I'm trying to remember, because I remember having a conversation with this girl that was like, she could take it or leave it, but she knew someone that had it. She would like get me some of them, just still Percocet though, still like 5 to 10 milligrams with Tylenol. So it was like baby stuff, compared. And then I remember telling her like, oh, I'm trying to quit. And then I went like one day and I was just in a bad mood. I didn't feel good, but I wasn't sick, close to being sick. But at that time I thought, oh, this sucks so bad. Little did I know.
And then you were like, this sucks, but but you weren't like, could you not see the correlation between how you felt and that you hadn't taken them? Or were you like, uh-oh, this might be a thing? It's a weird place in the early addict's life because you don't know what the fuck is going on, really.
Yeah, I didn't know. It was also cheap too. It was like, even if I was like, even if I saw it as being a daily thing, I'm like, oh, you know, what am I spending? Like $10 a day? Like,
big deal.
Like big deal. Like that's how I justified it by saying that's like 2 drinks at the bar that people do multiple nights a week, or like
a dime bag of weed or
whatever it is. Like, yeah. So then I started it becoming to where I'm taking like a lot of the pills. So the bottle's lasting me now like instead of like 3 weeks for 120 pills, it's lasting me maybe like 5 days.
Yeah.
Like start taking like 20 at a time.
Yeah.
Then people start telling me, yeah, there's this place in San Francisco in the Tenderloin called Pill Hill. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to go check it out. And I just went up to like not even in Pill Hill, but down on Market Street, which is near there. Went up to like the dirtiest person I could find and was kind of halfway joking and been like, yo, you got any OxyContin? And he's like, yeah, come with me. And I'm like, oh, we're going to get robbed. And it was almost a joke. I swear, me and my friend were kind of like,
you had heard about OxyContin.
I had heard about it, and I was just like, let's ask people if they know where to get it. And I'm thinking, I don't know this trade at all. I'm just like thinking that would be funny if they knew. But then he takes us to the street. I give the dude the $20, and he gives me an OC80. And I'm just like, holy shit, I got it. And I'm thinking, I'd maybe seen like maybe 1 or 2 stories about how people were like in Boston or something were like robbing pharmacies and how illegal this stuff was. And I'm like, dude, I got the most illegal thing ever in my pocket.
And you're still pretty innocent.
Still thinking it's a joke, honestly. But then I took it and I was like, holy fuck, that's way better than that stuff I was taking. Yeah. I didn't even take the whole thing. I split it in 4. So it was like a 20 milligram one.
You know what it reminds me of? Like your story. It's like, you know, like young punks and skaters, that wide-eyed innocence, that fun, that like it's a joke, like we're gonna go so far but we're still just kids.
Yes,
it's a joke. And then like that's where you are at in that moment.
And I'm sitting there being like, I have no idea that this shit is in the same sort of family tree as heroin. Like I wouldn't have sniffed cocaine or something like that
at that point.
Or yeah, no way. Crack, forget it. Like seeing people on the street with needles disgusted me.
Right. But you're like, let's see if we can get an OC80 or whatever.
And walking around thinking I'm probably going to like maybe get jumped or something. I wouldn't go in that neighborhood. I wouldn't want to walk down. And I was a seasoned graffiti writer, but I had no business over there. But you know what? It wasn't
drew you to.
It wasn't long before I started loving it down there. I started loving to be down. Maybe it was just addiction. I don't know, but it was like I enjoyed knowing people, knowing these really unique people that were selling, knowing everyone that sold, knowing I got hooked on the streets once again, like didn't want to miss nothing. Just like how it was with skating, like being at Embarcadero, like didn't want to leave because like what happens when something cool happens, you know, and I'm not there. Just like downtown San Francisco, like, and I was still shoplifting way before I did. Graffiti writers at that point, there was no like monetary gain really from it. So like I was me and most other of the really well-known ones, street riders, were shoplifting to support our lifestyle.
So explain what that is. Like what are you stealing? Paint? Are you stealing stuff? Then you could sell it and buy paint.
Stealing paint was like a big part of it, but that was like San Francisco didn't have a lot of paint stores, so that was more like driving, getting someone with the car, and then pushing carts of paint and stuff full, like at Home Depot back in the day. But like I was stealing like North Face jackets and then selling them on eBay and then using the money for that to go to Europe. That's how I funded my trip like a few times. Like, and that was normal. I was definitely like pretty aggressively like into shoplifting, but I had already been doing that for a long time before. So like to me, it turned into like, go steal some shit. There's people buying clothing and stuff right on the street in downtown San Francisco that they would buy electronics. I was into stealing them too.
So were you stealing? And because I was a terrible shoplifter too at the same time. I didn't go anywhere and not steal something.
Yeah.
But I didn't steal shit. I stole shit just to have it because I didn't want to pay for it for a long time. And then I would just steal CDs and sell them. That became my thing. Like I would go to record stores, steal CDs and sell them. And mostly you did best with clothing and stuff, you think?
At that time, that was what was downtown. There was a lot of like higher end clothing stores. I would go to like Saks Fifth Avenue and dip into just because I didn't really fit in as a customer there. So, but I looked fine. I looked all right. I didn't look like a or whatever, but I just wasn't the demographic that would
be perusing Saks Fifth Avenue.
Yeah, so I would just open the door and take whatever was in the window display off the mannequin, shoes, glasses, watches.
And this is all pre-addiction.
I would say I started doing that like in addiction. The jackets and stuff were pre-addiction. And then once I started doing the more brazen stuff, that was still recreational, still fun. Like even if I had plenty of money, I would still be stealing. But it did fairly quickly turn into me maintaining my addiction through constant theft. Even stealing like Bluetooth things when they first came out at T-Mobile. I would get 25 each for those and and there's like 20 T-Mobiles downtown San Francisco at the time. So I'm just like really, really like finessing that shit. Started accumulating arrests though. Then that's when the addiction starts to take over, where I had gone 5 years without a shoplifting arrest. So like pre, then all of a sudden now I'm getting arrested once a month.
Yeah. It's funny because skateboarding and graffiti is vandal culture, right? There's like a vandal aspect to the culture. When without, it's pretty innocent. But when you add, it's like, wait a second, I have all these vandal skills anyway. How can I apply them to addiction? But can you give us like a snapshot of what Pill Hill is like, what downtown San Francisco is like? What's it look like?
Pill Hill is it's the Tenderloin. It's at the time there was one block that was like crack, which is TNT, Turk and Taylor, which was the typical straight out of like a movie where it has the usual suspect kind of like shady crack selling youths and the people that smoke it. Just bare bones, like pretty hardcore to me. I didn't walk that way. I would go around. But then Pill Hill was just a bunch of like old people selling their OCs and morphine and benzos. Like it was just pills. And then you go up a block and it's people with a whole mouthful of balloons of heroin, tar. I didn't venture towards that direction or anything. I was just about the pills. And if you're there at the right time, you might even get a better deal. You might catch one of these people that actually gets them, and then they're trying to wholesale it. So like a lot of people would be wholesaling. So you got people that just are always there, that just always, but like as like a consumer, I was paying like six. I would get 6 for 100 OC80s. So they're 20 each or 6 for 100. got to the point where I was like throwing 6 of them in my mouth at once, OC80s. So like
your habit skyrocketed.
Yeah, I
was
so stupid.
I never did Oxy at all. I think that the first time I did Oxy was recently for a hernia surgery.
Oh wow.
But they were like little, but
5 milligrams.
Yeah. But out here I hear OC80s were $80 a pill.
It got, you know what's crazy is this shit used to piss me off so bad. Like Time magazine like did these exposés like maybe a few years deep into my OC like experience, and like they're putting out these things saying that they go for $1 a milligram, and I'm just like that. All of a sudden, everyone starts.
They set the price.
Yeah, it's like they're saying, yeah, this is how much it is, and all of a sudden, like maybe suburban kids are like, oh yeah, I need $80, like
right.
and they're buying them.
Right. So Time magazine fucked up the,
or who maybe it was some magazine, but some type of national publication
that changed the market.
Yeah, I mean, I remember the OC80s. They came out with fake ones because I think after 9 years they can make generics, and they made these OPs. They were like footballs. You couldn't crush them up and sniff them. They had that polymer in there and stuff like that. So it changed, but that was like the tail end of that for me. I ended up getting arrested for shoplifting in a county that was like a little more harsh. San Francisco, I had 6 arrests, and they let me plead guilty to 1, and then gave me like, just said don't do it again type, gave me like, the judge said, you've been on a crime spree, like we're going to dispose of the 6 just in exchange for a misdemeanor plea. And then, so that was San Francisco, but I go to the next county over to, cause it's real good to shoplift in Marin at the time. It's like, I don't know what it's comparable to, going to Long Island or something.
Money. There's money.
Yeah, money over there.
It's beautiful, Marin.
And then I end up taking something so slight on the way to where I was going. Like there's a nice shopping center I had been really, and I'm not even gonna say I was tearing them apart. I was very just like, I was only needing like a few $100s like at the time, like, and so I wasn't like doing anything crazy. I was still getting sunglasses. Like they had these like really nice sunglasses at like some kind of, nationwide chains. I can't remember the name of it, but I could look in the mirror at myself and try on the glasses, and I could see the clerk behind me because my back's to the clerk. They're sitting on their computer or whatever, and I'm just trying on a pair and sticking them in my sleeve of my jacket, getting like 20 pairs. And at the time, the guys that were buying the clothing down at downtown San Francisco, they were driving me around to go get sunglasses, and they would cash me out right outside the store and drive me back. And it was fucking sick. But like I ended up catching a case in that county and staying a month in jail. And at this time I had been arrested a grip of times for like few graffiti charges, a little shoplifting, couple hours, get released. This was the first time I was like I had to do like that month, and it was a huge deal to me. That was like life-changing.
How? Scary.
Well, scary. I ended up on probation, and I
did you kick in jail?
Yeah, real bad.
How bad was it? What was your habit like before you went in?
That I was taking handfuls of 80s. Like I was probably taking at least 10 OC 80s a day. That's like $200 though. It was manageable. Like the financial side.
Before it got really expensive. Before the article
yeah, before
came out.
they became before they pump and dumped or whatever the price. But like, so I came out of there and I disappeared, so my dad didn't know where I was. I didn't call anyone.
How was the month in there? Where was it?
It was Marin County Jail.
Horrible.
It was horrible. I was withdrawing. I was like sick for like at least a week or 2.
Sure. Was there in there or no?
No, not that I knew of. It was a really nice jail though,
Marin.
Yeah. The food was all right. Apparently it was there. It didn't have like the jail culture kind of like I wasn't afraid of that. I was just afraid of like losing freedom. So like I ended up trying to get clean. I was like giving it a full blown effort to like change my location and like I like moved. I went to where my dad was staying, tried to get clean off the OCs. I must have like come out of jail, been clean for a little while, and got back on it. Because when I went to New Mexico, I kicked for like 2 weeks straight. So like I must have like that's where my dad was at the
And you
time.
were just doing the OCs. You weren't doing benzos or coke or anything else.
No,
weed,
nothing else.
just
with
straight
it.
OxyContin.
Yeah. Then during that whole time where I was trying to get off the pills, I kicked. I lasted a month, almost to the day. On the 30th day,
No methadone, no nothing.
I just kicked it, and I ran into someone. I just wanted to do it so bad, and still I'm telling myself, oh, I don't think you start like once you go through the withdrawals that early on, it's like I forgot how bad it was and thought, oh, I got this. Like that was okay. Like that's not going to happen again. I'm going to be able to just do it sometimes. No, I did it.
As soon as you do it once, you're in it.
Yeah, but it took a few times of doing that to realize it. Now looking back, I'm like, oh my God, it's so obvious. But at the time, you just tell yourself,
you don't know what it is.
Yeah,
I never knew what it was, and I was years and years into it, and I still couldn't figure out that if I did it, I wasn't going to be able to stop doing it.
Yeah, and at the time, like my sort of like the pinnacle of like the drawbacks were that I had to like maybe shoplift more than what was comfortable, and that I made a bad choice and ended up in jail for a month. And I'm thinking to myself, like, that was because, I didn't think it was because of my behaviors. I thought it was, oh, if I wouldn't have stopped at that shopping center and went to that stupid store that sucked, that I didn't even care about, and then the cop station is right next to it. That's why. That's what happened.
Right, that's why it went bad. That's why it went bad.
Yeah, not because like my behaviors were fucked up. It was because that one guy shouldn't have done this, that, and the other, and accused me of stealing, and I didn't have what he said. It's just, it was just I felt like I just shoplifted improperly that day.
Yeah, you don't see your part. I mean, that's the whole thing.
Yeah.
So how does the whole thing advance?
So somehow I had started, like, I guess you could say, chipping, and I was still trying. I was drinking a little bit.
In New Mexico?
Yeah, I was like there to get sober. I end up like, my dad was married, and his wife, she wasn't really having me around. She didn't like me to be around there. So I moved into this kind of like art gallery space that had multiple rooms that some skaters lived in, a guy I went to high school with, and he like let me rent a room there, but there was no shower. It was a recipe for trouble, and before I know it, I start smoking tar, because the OCs were starting to go away. I don't know if they were cracking down or it got too expensive, or I just didn't have the connects. But I started smoking tar off of foil.
Who's the first person that is like, you could just smoke some tar?
I saw this girl that I had known from like a few years prior, and she's like, oh, what have you been doing? And I'm like, yeah, I'm just, I'm around town because I like fucked up. I was doing OCs. And she's like, oh, well, I'm smoking heroin.
She's like, you shouldn't fuck with that. You should just do this.
Well, like,
it's cheap.
That night, and this was at a bar, and I was probably drinking too. And my stupid ass was like, oh, I can drink because like that, I'm trying not to do the OCs.
Right.
Dumb idea too. But then I go straight home that night I was like, oh, I'm going to come with you guys then. Like, let's show me the way, And we start smoking this stuff, and it wasn't even that strong. To me, it was almost like maybe like a step down from the OCs.
Everyone says the OC80 is the pinnacle of all opiate life.
Till fentanyl. Like,
I never did OCs or fentanyl, and I mean, like, maybe I should go back out. No, I'm not. I shouldn't go back out. But that's
I
like,
get it. Like,
how fucking annoying is it that the two things that everyone is saying that I missed out on are the two things I didn't do.
I did regret once. So later in the story, like I regretted not shooting OCs. I'm like, I never got to inject an OC. Damn, man.
Yeah.
So like, yeah.
Did you ever find one?
No,
No.
I saw a guy selling like a blister pack of like, it looked like they manufactured fake OC80s. Like they said 80, they said OxyContin. They were silver blister, like a blister pack, but they were, instead of being like that, they're coated with like an opaque paint looking stuff, and these were like, look like a Flintstone vitamin color, or like an E-pill where they're green, but like it's like speckled and stuff. And I was like, that's
Fanciful.
that's some other shit.
Right,
yeah. But I
right.
still wanted to buy it just to be like,
Finally, I
hell
can-
yeah, run that.
I
Like,
hear you.
but that was like deep into my fentanyl stuff. So I was like, I didn't want to risk that it was fake or whatever. It was like a souvenir type vibe. But so anyway, I started smoking this stuff for like a good year, running around, in New Mexico stealing, and it was so much harder though. Like I had to like drive around like stealing from different places, like getting video games and stuff like that, and then going selling them at GameStop. It went from like real quick, easy money to like real laborious,
It's like a job.
yeah. And then I'm buying balloons of tar, putting a whole 20 on the foil, smoking it, and it's not the greatest stuff. It's not.
No. How soon are you shooting it?
Okay, so ended up leaving New Mexico, realizing shit wasn't gonna like get better. I decide to go to Europe. At this point I'm on probation in California. They gave me a pass to go visit my dad and stuff. But I'm like, yo, fuck these dudes. Like, I'm not going to get clean. They're going to keep arresting me. And I had, for the first time, seen people in jail that were like, it's like, oh, what did you do? They're like, oh, I've been in here for a year and this long and I violated probation by smoking crack. And I'm like, that's all you did? And they're like, yeah. And then I realized once they get their hooks in, and it's a revolving door. Once
You're not getting out of there.
Yeah, no. So I decided to go to another country. But I stopped in New York on the way, and
because you wanted to do graffiti here. You wanted to get the dope here.
It just was a stop, and I had like an ex-girlfriend that I was still like, like very good friends with, and I decided to stay with her for a while, and so I just got a flight with maybe a week long there was some graffiti writers that were using that knew, or people that culturally were just in proximity and were like, that's the dude. I stood out, and I started kind of getting some friends and stuff, and I was allowed, one of my friends let me stay with him at his he had the full basement of a house in northeast Philly, let me stay with him, and he knew me through graffiti, and kind of look he was excited to help me out and to be around me, and I would take him stealing because I was prolific for theft in the scene, I was exceptionally good at it, and I ended up finding community with that, and leaving the house, staying in, it's clear over in North Philly, which wasn't even far, but for me, it was I didn't want to be out. I didn't want to not be down Center City by the stealing and the, you know what I mean? I'd wake up sick and just have to
you were too far to pull off that whole bunch of a hustle.
Yeah. So I met some good friends that were also boosters, and I'm like, there's a park by Allegheny, by Clearfield, and it's a major corner where there's a big park, and that's in the summer, it's it might as well be a beach. There's a joke, it's Kensington Beach, because it's it's just full of it's not your typical gross, decrepit, what you think these people showing videos at Kensington of that. All the videos in Kensington are of the Avenue K&A. It's the street corner. They're the mascots. They're the worst of the worst of the worst.
So what's this place like? What's
this place is just it's just a big park, and it's just a whole bunch of people socializing and doing openly, and probably comparing stories. But I remember going there and seeing some people that I had seen around down stealing and stuff, and I see this girl Liddy, who's my good friend the whole at this point she's like an acquaintance, but she's like, oh my God, we were just talking about you and the crazy like ways that you steal. And then
what were the crazy ways that you steal?
Like I was really into like going behind counters, like not braid. I wasn't jumping counters, but sneaking, opening locked cases.
How would you do it?
It turned into like using like a putty knife to pry the glass up. So like at department stores like Macy's type of stores, not necessarily there, but like prying the glass up, and they had these like really expensive, I mean, not really expensive, like $500 watches. And like, there would be like 5 of them on one little like tube type thing. And I would just pry the glass open and take that.
Get the 5
and then go sell them in the hood. $400, $500 watch. I would get 80 for down the hood.
Though, it's incredible.
Yeah. I mean, but sometimes I got 12 of them, and I was with her, and she would.
You were like the hero of this park. You were the legend.
Yeah, I was legendary but she didn't know about that. That would come late. But just like, and sometimes if it got real bad, I would like get like cartons of cigarettes like by reaching behind the counter. That's like $50 to $100 for 2 cartons.
Just like brazen shit.
Yeah, brazen stuff, but still sneaky. I wasn't doing the like during COVID. Right. People started going in with trash bags and filling up whole, going to like Sephora makeup. And like looting basically. That shit happened during COVID. That wasn't my scene though.
You were on some Artful Dodger grab and no one noticed you shit.
Yeah, because like, I mean, it still got to the point where like, you go into like a retail store, like a retail chain, like Target or something, and they would call me and my friends by our government names and be like, yeah, you have whatever amount, $30,000 worth of confirmed theft from Target. What's it going to be today? And I'm like, I think electronics, but that was nice. I was friendly. I wasn't breaking shit. I wasn't taking bags full of stuff.
And they didn't stop you though.
They had a no touch policy.
What is it? Oh yeah.
They couldn't touch you. And it was weird though. There was a lot of like, there was lost.
So what is that about? Like when you can go into a store, take whatever you want and nobody touches you.
Well, think about it. It's in the wake of George Floyd getting killed in police custody due to potentially excessive force. And now people are filming everything. Imagine like you go into a store and these guys choke you and throw you on the ground and it's because you were stealing like, a set of headphones or something. Like they're not going to take that risk. And Target killed someone in custody by accident. They slammed the girl down and she died.
So they just basically let you walk in and out, but they know who you are and they know how much you've taken.
Yeah. I mean, it got to the point where loss prevention from certain stores were there was one guy that like he was a loss prevention agent at like a few different stores, and me and her were going into a couple of those stores, and I don't think he realized the magnitude of like the desperation in Philly, because we would see this dude when he wasn't working, and he would chase me and be like, I'm gonna fuck you up, like why you come into my work. And I saw him one day, and I had just come out of like a 2-month little jail stint, and I was sort of clean, and I was like, and she was clean, sort of too, off jail. We got arrested together. We went up to him, and I had gained some weight. I was looking all right. She was looking good. And I'm like, yo, like, what's up? Like, this is me and this is us. And he's like, holy fuck. Like, what's up? And I showed him my graffiti. I was like, look, I just want you to know, like, it's not you. Like, he'd been chasing me around. This was like beef, like on site type shit. Like, even when he wasn't working. And I was like, look, I'm a person. Like I'm not just, I was addicted to, and I was trying to clean up. Well, 30 minutes later, he was the loss prevention at a store. We were staying, getting high in this, like this train station wasn't really being used. And like, he ends up getting a phone call. The cop show up being like, yeah, there's someone. I OD'd for the first time in my entire life. I OD'd right outside of that store 5 minutes after showing this guy I was cleaning up. Here's my graffiti. I'm a person. He shook my hand. Well, I saw him the next day after I got out of the hospital. I woke up in an ambulance. I'd never OD'd in my life, but I had been clean in jail. So when I did get high off even the smallest amount, I put the smallest amount I could.
Right.
Then I OD'd.
Yeah.
The next day I saw him and he was crying. He's like, what happened? And he was in tears. And that affected me. Like the fact that my op on the street, someone that hated my guts, that I sort of made a human connection with and showed him my story. Then he saw me like immediately after. Yeah, he cared and he hated me.
Afterwards, he hated you again?
Well, no. I'm saying he previously hated me, but I would see him. I saw him towards the end and it was funny because it was down by Spring Garden, a really nice area, these nice, tall, new buildings. And I saw him and I was like, oh, you work down here? He's like, no, I live there. And I'm thinking, damn, this dude, he's catching, his job is to like apprehend. He's, that's not like the sickest paying job I wouldn't imagine, but he's doing well enough for himself. He has a sick ass condo like on the water. Like, I don't know. It just hit different when like, it's
like, what kind of life is this kind of thing?
Yeah. It made me realize like, what am I doing?
Right. So like when do you wind up homeless in Kensington?
Oh gosh. So that was way before. So like, no, I was homeless in Center City and I would do all my sales. Like the place, it's so weird. This whole ecosystem, like sort of aged, like it all kind of, there's such a like weird, chain of events that would change. So like I was on the street living in that. So I met my crew, this girl and her friends. She's like, that's when I was like, yo, they showed me where they stayed and it was down Center City and they had a homeless, like they had like houses built with nice, I mean, it was nice. Like it was summer. So I was like, I ended up staying for a few days with them instead of going back to Northeast Philly. And I was like, it was just cool. As fucked up as it sounds, like they were doing it right.
But what's fucked up about it? What sounds fucked up about it?
Well, that I had a roof over my head, but I would rather go down to Center City to Moravian Alley with like a group of like 6 or 7 like young or adult but younger like thieves that were all connected by the top echelon of stealing, and that like we would exchange information about what stores were hot, because the cops started doing sting operations where like the security can't touch you, but I caught about 6 cases walking out of stores and the cops popped out of the bushes and wrapped me up and then did it immediately after and kept doing it, like kept getting people. Cause like, there's a lot of fiends in Philly and there's the fair amount of them boost,
They have to.
Yeah. There's so many, there's like a hierarchy of like
what you're stealing.
Well, there's
what you're buying.
There's prostitutes.
What your hustle is.
Yeah.
Right?
Even the pawn shop that this is what I was going to say is like, I got seduced by the streets and, things changed. The alley was like really cool, but it got cold. I ended up finding a really, really, really nice building in like 34th and Market Street on University of Penn campus. Super nice building. And I noticed it was unlocked. So it got really cold and I was like, 2 days had gone by and I was like, yo team, like I got us. Like we're gonna go somewhere warm. And I went into this place. I had opened up, walked around in there when I found it, and then left it alone because it was a little bit out the way. It was,
and you guys were like tight. This crew.
Yeah, they were my dude. I would. Yeah, they were very tight. This wasn't an open-ended offer to like any
Whoever.
other addict. This was the people I had been with for a year on the street, a year straight. We've been arrested together. No one snitched. Nobody, like, these are people that when I came out of jail after doing 12 hours and coming out sick, they gave me a bag. I would give them bags. And it was all kind of held together by this girl, Liddy. She was, and her boyfriend, DJ. He was like, me and him were kind of like top shelf boosters in Philly. Like he was really good. He got different stuff than me. He would specialize in like medicine and stuff from CVS, but they would get like Prevagen brain vitamins and all kinds of shit, eye drops. They knew how to go make $300 out of one CVS real easy. I had to go get electronics and clothing and stuff. I was still doing my New York kind of type shit, but but like those two, and we were known. I mean, she stood out so much. She was like,
it sounds like some kind of sort of cowboy movie of shoplifting in Kensington.
That's exactly what it was. It was
like this crew of young adults who are robbing together, using together, and being a scourge.
But still, the one unifying link between us was that I feel like we all had kept our virtuosity and our style and our grace and loyalty. And we would sit around and talk about things that superseded the talk that a lot of the other people would just brain dead. You know, these people, I had really good conversations with these people, and it just, and like the mutual love for not only but for the process of shoplifting was just a bond that was
deep.
Yeah, it reminded.
Not to mention you were high though too, which helps.
And also like I realize now a lot of my, like some of those years in the alley, like I pictured it like a castle. Like in my perspective, it was like sparkly and like, and I wasn't on hallucinogenics, but it was just so rich and such a crazy time, and like I could graffiti the alley as much as I wanted, and it was right in Center City. It was the Apple store was right in front of us. Like this was not in the middle of nowhere. This was like we could take 2 steps out the alley and be in this shopping district of Philly that was like prime.
And somehow you didn't burn all the places in Philly.
No,
because you could. Because like I went to the supermarket the other day and I got tired waiting online and I said, maybe I'll just leave. And the lady was like, well, you can. Nobody's going to stop you. And that's kind of like what you're talking about, this new culture where stores aren't stopping people from stealing.
Yeah, it did. You're right. It did get to the point though where I ended up getting arrested for something super slight. I had like a magnet. It was a alarm detacher, like a S3 key. And I was on 64th Street, and I didn't realize that's in Delaware County. Just like in California when I was in that other county, like and got hit for that. That happened to me in Philly, where I wasn't in Philly. I got caught with that magnet at a Rite Aid, and all I was getting was like a drink or something. But they charged me with that possession of a instrument of crime, and I ended up.
Did you steal the drink?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, I did. Well, the reason it was a big deal is because when they brought me back in for the drink, they were just going to write my name down and kick me out. But what they did was when I came in, they have facial recognition, so it sent a message being like,
"It's like this guy."
It was like,
"What do they call you? What was your street name?" Can you say it?
Well, yeah. I mean, my crew called me. They just called me by my name. But the Target and them, like the LPs, called me Magnet.
Because you had the magnet.
Because I had the magnet. Yeah, Magnet. Magnet was my name.
Dude, how hard is it to not be stealing now?
I don't steal now that I'm sober.
Of course. But like, it must have become so second nature. Like you can't even go into the CVS and not steal something at that point.
Yeah.
You also didn't have money, I guess.
I did it. So after that magnet got me like, it got me 2 months, and then I didn't go to court or nothing. I was on probation and ended up doing a year for the magnet.
Where'd you go?
Delaware County, George W. Hill Correctional Facility.
How was that?
That was crazy. Like, I will say this, I was well liked. I came in sick, did some wrong moves. Like, that was for 2 months. I came in and did some dumb shit. Like, Suboxone was all around. And like I did some like really dumb moves, like getting stuff on credit that I wasn't going to be able to pay.
Right.
Ended up getting like the consequences of that. And but
just
then
beat.
I got smacked a little bit and stuff, but it wasn't like a savage beat down. It was just like I had to just take it. But then when I came back, to do the long bid, I knew
what to do,
how to maneuver. Sad as that, whatever, for better or for worse, I knew how to conduct myself at that point.
Did you kick in there again?
Yeah, I kicked, but see what it was is like the regular pod at that point, the lockdown was 23-1. So, not even. It was like 24-hour lockdown. You ate in your cell. I'm stuck in there with the cellie, and he's like, we're basically like, we're in there 24 hours a day. I'm sick. This dude's sick. He was from Camden, New Jersey, which is like a mini Kensington that's real bad too. So we're comparing stories of stealing and everything else the whole time. And I had been to Camden once to get some powder when Kensington was like dry or what it was. There was a bunch of fake shit or something. So like whatever. But I did kick. It took me like a solid good week of like grossness, puking in front of all these inmates. I'm throwing up, and all they're talking about is, oh man, like talking about Kensington and how bad it is. And I'm throwing up. They're starting to talking about like basically like just chitter chatter about like how bad like different are, and just you're hearing people basically critiquing you while you're on the ground of an intake.
Right.
And these are also people that sell too. And you're just like, oh my God, get me the fuck out of here. But I ended up getting well enough after like 30 days you can work. So I'm on the work block. That's where shit got good for me. Cause like you're not locked in. The 24-hour lockdown, like that shit, like this just it drives you crazy, you can't.
So what were you doing for work?
Working in the kitchen. And because we had the freedom of running around the jail and stuff, that was where Suboxone was the. And you know what's crazy is like when you're clean,
you get high on the Suboxone,
dude. A 16th of a strip,
it'll fuck you up,
one strip, cut 16 ways. One strip that a normal person on the street takes one of,
and doesn't feel.
Yeah, you can cut 16 ways, and it's called they called it like a microdot. That was like, and I started doing a good job in the kitchen. Getting the food for this guy, he was breaking off a fifth of a strip, which was like they're $200 a strip in jail. So I would get him a salad with ranch as a full blown CO food, like for the officers, and I would get him the salad, and then he would give me like, dude, it was like each one of them salads would give me like 3 days worth of like straight zootedness. Like I would be like coasting through my bid and like
the salads.
Yeah, dude, that shit was on point. But he went upstate, and then all of a sudden, like salads weren't hitting for that. Like,
right. That was those are the salad days of jail.
Yeah, that shit was on point. Shout out to my man. But like, I was pretty much able to like get through that bid. Like, I was well liked. They called me Birdman. That in jail, I'm Birdman. That's like
why?
I don't know. I think there's like a basketball player. He was like tattooed, and he was like so
Miami.
Yeah, they called me Birdman, and like I realized like I was well liked and stuff. But like I got out of that bid, I knew I was gonna get high immediately. Because
you weren't done.
Yeah, the first 3 months I was like, oh, I'm sober. This is so cool and stuff. No, the first month actually, because once I got on that Suboxone block or whatever, the work block with the subs, I was picturing me like going to the street and sniffing subs like a little bit, like, but then of course I got out of jail and went straight to Kensington. And I'll tell you what, after being away from it for a while, the first time seeing the hood again, I felt like it changed, but it wasn't that. It was that I changed. I couldn't fucking believe. I was like, it reminded me of the first few times I had been there where I was like, oh my God, like what apocalyptic crazy shit is this shit?
You had gotten accustomed to it.
Yeah.
Was your crew still around?
That was the sad part, is like the whole team that was like Legion before I came out, and like, they're like, oh, well, like she's there and he's there and this guy's in jail and that guy went to rehab and who knows where this guy is. No one hangs out. No one's around. And I'm just like, all I really wanted to do is like see my two homies that were tight with me, like the girl, like Lydia and DJ, like, and a handful of others, but those were the two like pinnacle. Those were like my aces.
Closest people.
And Liddy was like, I don't know, like she was important to Kensington, to like Center City. She was a figurehead. She was like enigmatic and very like well liked by everyone. And like, I think I might have attached to that, to that I identified with.
She was very powerful for you.
Yeah.
And when you got out, she wasn't around.
She wasn't around, or I had heard no one was hanging out. She actually had a different boyfriend who was in our tertiary group,
Right.
but not really. I like him. I like him. Things changed because I also knew that like I couldn't, if I had a police contact, because of course I skated on probation, never looked back. When the day I got out, I found crack on the bus in Chester, PA, a little like dime of crack on the ground. On the ground, like before that was where the bus dropped me off. And then I like, you know what I mean? Like I already found
Did you
crack.
get a needle? What did you do?
No,
You like
at
ate
that
it?
point, no, I just saved it and took it to Kensington and traded it for a bag of dope.
Right.
And then it was so like lame though. Like that first day, it was like, it wasn't, I was so paranoid about ODing, and I was like, but then that's the next day was when I did OD, like, and actually I saw Liddy, she had come out of rehab. Like that's where she was. That's what it was. She had gone to rehab, but she came out the same day, like the day after I had been out. And she,
Where'd you run into her?
I was sitting in this like Broad Street line train station it was an exit, so we could like lock ourselves in, and like it was warm and lit up and stuff. And she came through with some girl she had kind of like came out of rehab to like, and like I OD'd that day. The first day I saw her, I OD'd, and then she OD'd later. She went back
Was
to
the
rehab.
reunion very emotional when you first saw her?
Yeah, it was. It was cool. It was fucking awesome. Like, yeah, dude. Fuck yeah. She was like, it was like, yeah, that was a meaningful, the whole thing, the whole 2-year span. She also ended up getting arrested with me down in Kensington. So they have this thing called Strike Force that they'll be real sneaky and like be like using binoculars and watching people cop on a certain block. Cause there's so many different blocks with lots of people constantly. It looks like it might as well be like a carnival ride type shit. And I already got my stuff, and she went and got hers. She had like been out of rehab or something and went back to the street. This was like months later, but she ended up Strike Force pulls up, and I knew if they ran me, I'm going for at least a year. Like I was going to do another long one. But she wasn't really as bad off. So, but I was so sad. She ended up getting arrested for buying. And she just had the most heartbroken look on her face. But the positive side is she ends up getting clean. Jail got her clean, surprisingly. She started working harm reduction at this place, Savage Sisters in Philly.
Amazing.
Yeah, I was still out there. I ended up getting an apartment right next to Savage Sisters. Complete coincidence, with her boyfriend DJ. We had an apartment in Kensington, so we made it. As far as I was concerned, it's like I'm at the top of the world. I have an apartment now, $400 a month apartment with 4 people in it on Kensington Avenue.
Exactly where you want to be.
Yeah. Oh, there was
everything.
no better
Place to sleep.
Yeah, that was like, besides like that bookstore, I think I kind of veered off, but like I ended up finding that bookstore. It's like 2 stories, a 2-story place with a balcony, full carpet, heating, a bathroom, a break room, a hot plate, shelves you could make into rooms, extra rooms, completely vacant, nice, right on University of Penn, attached to a Starbucks. And we lived there for 4 months. But then that was like I skipped a step. That was before I did my 8-month bid. When I got arrested while residing that place, but no one ever got busted. They ended up reoccupying the bookstore with a radio station, and everyone got out fine, no arrests. So we occupied extremely prime real estate in Philly for a good 4 months during the winter, and it was fucking awesome. Like, it was great.
And how do you lose the apartment?
A guy came in and put a gun in our face and told us to get the fuck out, because the whole building was full of fucking crazy shit. Like, one of the most poppin' like sets, they were selling this dope called Lean, and it was bright purple. Marketing again. Purple. When you pulled it up, it was like, looked like
the purple shot.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was like, oh, this shit's dank as fuck.
Yeah, that would get me, the purple shot.
Yeah, purple. Yeah, all good. And so they had that. I forget the other stamp. They had like 4 stamps, and then they started selling meth, which I never did. Even in Kensington, meth was considered like
lower than Kensington.
Well, because dude, people that did it, they wouldn't sleep and they'd act crazy as fuck and be paranoid.
They were ostracized by the dope community.
Yeah. We were
crack wasn't for some reason.
My team didn't like crack,
right?
But like, no, you could. I mean, I guess down there it was anything goes, but in my circle, like, meth was gonna make people so paranoid they couldn't fucking steal. So like, they were gonna like bug out outside of a store, like plotting for like 2 days straight.
A meth head in Kensington is a lower life form, basically.
Yeah, basically. So I found a bundle of meth. I gave it away that these guys dropped because they're in our building. They had a whole trap house, but they don't trap out of Kensington. It's all streets. It's open air. There's no. I mean, there is some bandos where you go inside, but they're established blocks. Like, there's a lot of like super like long term, like 30-year long, $1 million a week blocks. Like Weymouth, Custer, like, and
that's
Reach.
The spot. Yeah.
That's where like the people that come from Jersey that have only been there a few times that want like 5 bundles, they'll go there. But like the locals, like they're like kind of like the big 3 blocks are like kind of like, this shit's no good. Like we would like run around finding like the daily fucking
the new brand.
Yeah, we wanted the new shit every time. But so like,
how long do you stay out in Kensington?
I mean, so there's a train line, Center City to Kensington. It's the MFL line. It's like a 10-minute train ride from the stores to like the hood, Allegheny Station. So like I'm never. So in the apartment in Kensington, about a year. Then the guy comes, kicks us out because he decides to kick everyone out the building. So he goes in there waving guns at people, talking about he's gonna fuck us up. This slumlord shit, but like, he was just as bad of a landlord as we were tenants, you know? Yeah. So like,
that's the lawlessness of Kensington.
Yeah, it is what it is. If someone wants to put a gun in your face,
then you leave.
You're going to leave. Just like if you're on the block, you're not allowed to stop and sit down. Forget sitting down in Kensington anywhere but the Ave. That's why those videos shows everyone camped out. It says you can't even stop and tie your shoe without getting thrown off the block. Because people don't want to hop and roll. That's the law. Period. All 5 straight miles of like nothing but dope sets running the land and shit. Like, for real. People would get. I've seen people get shot
just for not moving.
Well, probably not necessarily that, but getting shot, and then everyone's concern is like, yo, when's the block gonna open back up? Like, get this body the fuck out of here. Cause like I want to buy what you guys got. Like, that's how kind of like, you know, the blocks being open was a big deal, like certain ones.
So how long did you make it in Kensington? How long until this time?
4 years straight.
From then to the time that you turn up on the street?
It was 5. And then the 1 year incarcerated. So it's like 4 years solid on the street, completely homeless, completely criminally insane, pretty much.
And the writing was out for the most part.
Yeah, I would like maybe steal a couple cans or some markers, and like, or people started coming through the alley and like they knew I was there. Some writers would like come down there and like we would do some tags together. Cause I was still known. I still had reputation, but like,
you were fucked.
I was fucked up. Yeah. And
so like, what were some of the things that like advanced you to the end? Like in those last few years, like what were the things where you're like, I can't, like something attracted you to Kensington in the first place.
Yeah.
And that brand shit drove you. What were the things that were like, because when you said it was done, you were like, I don't want to fucking do this anymore. And was it just like you maxed out completely, or were there like moments that you remember towards the end that were like the worst?
Okay. The fact that my whole crew had disbanded and then someone would get arrested and like, they'd be gone for 6 to 8 months. I knew that I was facing the same shit. I started, every time I would get high, I would immediately start hearing like a cop telling my life story as if they were around the corner, telling like almost like a documentary. But like before I would do the shot, I'd be like, no one's here. I looked all around. I made sure I was not going to be paranoid. This was only on the street. When I was in the apartment, I never once was paranoid looking out the window. Never. And the whole building was full of gangsters.
Right.
You know?
But on the street, you're very vulnerable.
I would do it, and I would, because it was like I knew even if just a cop came,
you're not free for a year.
They might run my name for fucking jaywalking. Somehow I'm still managing to steal and buy all day long. But the minute I do I'm like, oh shit, the cop's talking about me, telling my life story to someone. And it just got to where it wasn't fun. It was a chore. My Liddy got clean, and I would see her like at Savage Sisters doing outreach work. And I'm like, it can happen. It's possible.
Right.
Because before that, I didn't have any, you'd see someone clean and they'd be coming down in the hood. If you saw them, that meant they
were not going to be
They were about to relapse.
Right,
yeah.
Right.
And I saw being clean as like just a phase. Like, oh, the one guy that comes out of jail and he looks kind of nice for like a week and then he's back to the bullshit. Like that time and time and time again. But she actually got clean and stayed clean for a year. And I remember just being like, well, she was like potentially worse than me. I remember giving her portions of my. It felt good to me to know that drugs had not taken over completely, where I was like, oh, I have this left. Here you go.
She was a great inspiration.
Yeah. And then the fact that she was probably more entrenched into this shit than I was, but managed to get clean, made me realize, like, you know what? Like, I remember one of the first conversations I had with her where I was on the street and I was like, you know, I asked her, she was like really cool and really awesome and loved. And I went up to her and I was she was the one person in Kensington that I felt might have an answer. And I asked her, I said, like, do you think you're going to crash and burn in Kensington? Cause we talked about how we were seduced by the streets. We were in love with the hood, married to that shit. But I was like, do you find yourself, maybe, is this one for the books or is this a crash and burn thing? And she's like, I don't know the answer. And like that resonates with me. But then I realized I'm going to make this shit one for the books. Like, this is not, she got clean. I'm about to get clean. And like, but I still couldn't do it until I got so sick that.
You shitted blood.
Yeah, I definitely did.
Well, listen, it's like, and then how long after that do you leave Philly?
Pretty much immediately.
Where do you go?
I went, and I stayed in the hospital for 2 weeks, and then the phone rings and I'm like, that's weird. No one knows I'm here. And she's like, Jonas? And I'm like, who's this? I'm thinking it's like an ex-girlfriend or I don't even know. I don't know who, because I think I called like one of my good friends and like, I don't know what I thought, but she's like, it's Liddy. And I'm like, oh my God. And she's like, I heard you died, Brandon. She's seen one of our friends, Brandon, down in the hood. And he said that I died. Because when I was coming in, I saw another guy that I knew really well from the street in the hospital, just like passing through. And they're like, he's like, what's wrong with him? And they're like, he has a blood infection. And one of our friends died of a blood infection.
So they just assume you had died.
He's just like, yeah, they didn't see me for 2 weeks. And so she's like, you're going, I was like, oh, I'm getting better, whatever. I was still bedridden and stuff in the hospital. And she's like, you know what? You're going to go to rehab. I think you need professional help. And I was like, I would have done whatever the fuck she said. Because at that point, I wanted to impress her. and like B, whatever the fuck she had in her blueprint, it was working because she was doing harm reduction. She was clean. She has a phone number for rehab. She's got me a bed. And I went from the hospital to Valley Forge rehab. And then from there, one of my long-term graffiti like associates who lives in Philly, he came and got me from rehab. I was like weak. It was like a month off of the sickness and everything else. I was super weak. We went and painted a couple spots. I needed help getting back to the car.
You were so weak.
So weak. But
did you feel that inspiration cooking in you though once you started painting?
At the time it was such a chore that I thought like I was more like, oh, this is cool to like. At that point I just was so emotional and lucky to be alive. But he kind of was like, yeah, what you're gonna do is you're gonna make some like stickers, and you're gonna like draw these stickers, and we're gonna make you a little bit of money, like making sticker packs. And I was like, to me, I was like, oh, that I knew people. I was revered in graffiti, and I'd been gone, presumed dead, for 5 years, and like I knew people would be receptive to it, but I didn't realize there was such an outpour of like support. I ended up making like enough money to leave Philly, go to New York, see a couple people, and then continue to go live in a sober living facility in New Mexico because I had a vehicle there, a car that my brother was keeping for me when I moved to New York, a nice Volkswagen, like a cool car. And I had enough money to like to support myself for a few months. I made like over $4,000 like off of these things
just
in
making
2
these
days.
stickers. It's incredible.
Yeah, and that was also people
who
like
knew to buy them.
Instagram, through his Instagram, and a lot of I will say like in sobriety, like I'm around people that don't have this community that I have, that might have started using at age 12 or whatever happened, but I have such a gift through community. Like these people supported me. They continue to like purchase ephemera from me. I don't know what I would do without not only graffiti to help me maintain sobriety. Like as far as like the first few months of my sobriety, it was just 3 meetings a day and some graffiti a day. You know, like,
well, it's like find your purpose, right?
Yeah. I was stretching my body, getting myself active, getting back to what matters. And I was so emotional though. I was so like,
highs and lows, right?
Really no lows, but super crazy mania. And then I guess lows in the sense of like, if someone like did anything slightly offensive to me, oh my God, I wanted to fight everyone.
Right.
You know, like God forbid, like any little thing someone would do. Cause I was used to the streets, like Kensington. That's the one thing I didn't even get into, was like this sort of hardened self-defense reflex that I developed where I'm not showing weakness. If someone even starts, and I'm nobody, like these people that weren't strung out, that were running these blocks, I got fucked up for no reason. Or like groups of kids, I got beat up badly. And sometimes I'd be boosting, and like these people would see you hitting a lick on a store, and then they wait outside, and
take it off of you.
They would want to take it off of me, like, and then I had to fight for it a few times.
And you learned how to fight in Kensington?
I don't know if I learned how to fight, but I certainly learned how to stand up for myself.
Right.
And being in jail, the same thing. If someone
conditions you differently.
Someone wants to go, they invite you into the cell for a fight, like it's gonna go down. Fuck it, win, lose or draw. I'm going in that cell. I don't give a fuck if I get my ass beat, and I did get my ass beat, and I got beaten a bunch of times by kids, and I didn't deserve it. But you know what? That's the streets. I saw people get shot, and my concern was getting on the block to cop more.
Yeah,
get him out of here.
Yeah,
not oh my God, that young person lost their life. It's damn, when's the block gonna open? Like,
right. Well, that's how it is.
Yeah, and so like I sort of realized like a lot of my tendencies developed over like 4 years, like a slingshot pulled back, ready to snap. That shit doesn't fly in the real world. Like I was like blowing up at people but nothing bad. I didn't harm anyone. I didn't even really argue, but I went straight to that like street mode of like, nah, that's not like confrontations,
right?
Constantly. But through the going to meetings and talking and like sharing my feelings and like maybe I just knew that whatever was going to happen, I got sober by the grace of higher power or whatever. The dice were rolled in my favor. I got sick at the right time. I knew that the one way that I had seen and heard about maintaining sobriety was like recovery programs like NA and AA.
And you got into it.
I went immediately. The day I got sober, like when my friend picked me up from the rehab, I went to a meeting,
and
cried,
you got into it.
Started crying, got my 30-day key tag. That my first meeting was 30-day mark to the day.
Right.
And yeah, I started going and I loved it. I loved it, like going to AA and NA because it was the frequency. I needed multiple meetings a day.
I get it. Totally. Listen, I think your story is insane. I really appreciate you telling it in such detail.
Okay.
We need this kind of shit. We do. And where can people find you?
PVC Gray, pvc.grey on Instagram.
How do you feel revealing all this stuff?
I feel okay about it.
Dude, thank you.
I appreciate you. Thanks for having me.
Dude, thank you, man.
All right. Cool.
Killer.
Thanks.